Hi everyone, Cassie here. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing something special. I am hopping around with Crafty Meraki for the Crafty Meraki Crafttober Press-Tacular. As you know, there were a bunch of plates that were just released and they work with the BetterPress. So if you have one, these are amazing. They also can be hot foiled on the Glimmer hot foil press. So let me talk about which ones I have and then we'll get into a card. This first one I have is called Little Things. There are also matching dies to go with each one of these that I'm sharing with you. But isn't that beautiful? It's a nice size. It'll fit beautifully on the front of an A2 size card. This is actually the one we're going to be using today. And there is the matching die to go along with it. We also have this Magical Christmas, super pretty with the poinsettias and presents and kind of like a half wreath. It's so pretty. And then there's also a matching die to go along with that one. I do have some cards with that one. And I will share those later. We also have this one. I love it. It's called Love Potion. I cannot wait to color it up. Not only did I press it with my BetterPress, but I also hot foiled it because it's just beautiful. I love coloring florals. Then we have this one called Lily Serenade, another beautiful one, kind of like a half wreath. But this one's big. This one would work really beautifully on an A7. I did put it on an A2, just trimmed off a little bit of it, but it's really pretty. Then we have this one called the Stella Wreath. So you have that full wreath, super pretty with all kinds of poinsettias and just, greenery and whatnot. It's so pretty and perfect for Christmas. And then we also have a couple of sentiments. We've got our Gilded Holiday Expression. So you've got your plate and you also have the matching die so you can get all those sentiments at one time. And then I also have like an everyday one just called Gilded Expressions. And this one's fabulous and there is a matching die for that as well. So like I said, this can be used in the BetterPress. That's what it was designed for, but they can also be foiled. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut open the Love Potion one. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and stamp that one as well, or BetterPress it. I've cut down some BetterPress paper. There is BetterPress paper, and that's what I have found so far that works the best if you want that great impression. You could probably do it on watercolor paper too, but that BetterPress paper works pretty good for watercolor, and that is what we're going to do today. And then I also grabbed in that Little Things one as well. And so I'm going to use my black ink. This is the black ink that comes with the BetterPress. I think I'm going to need to get the bigger ink pad for sure because I use this BetterPress all the time. Absolutely love it. And then I'm going to take some of that BetterPress paper, put that down, and then we're going to run this through the Spellbinders Platinum machine. You do need to have that if you're going to have the BetterPress. And this is fabulous. You can't see it that well on the camera, but my goodness, the impression is gorgeous. So now I'm going to foil it. And I'm just using some pewter foil. What I do is I have my plate. I put that face down on the pretty side of the foil. And then I put that foil onto some white cardstock and I smooth cardstock. And then I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine as well. And all it's going to do is heat that plate, and you're going to get that beautiful foiled image onto that paper. I'm going to pull that away and you're going to see how absolutely stunning that is. My goodness, take a look at that. And again, camera just doesn't do it as much justice, but it is super shimmery and absolutely beautiful. So we're going to watercolor. This one's the BetterPress one. And there's a beautiful impression on that. And I'm going to go ahead and speed this up about 4 times, and eventually we'll speed this up about 8 times. But I wanted to talk about watercoloring this. I am using some Daniel Smith watercolors. Probably any watercolors will work fine with this. I just love this color palette that I have, and so I am going to add those colors into it. Now, the packaging for these is really great because if you flip it over, it gives you an example of how you can color it. So you don't have to look at this and just be like, oh my goodness, don't know what I'm doing. Just look at the packaging. You could start from there and maybe elaborate further, stamp it out different times, color those flowers different colors. I colored mine completely differently than what the packaging shows, and I really just had the best time doing this. I have some, I think they're called Escato paint brushes. I'll have everything linked down below that I'm using, and I've got my little water system over there because watercolor, believe it or not, is my very first love when it comes to any sort of coloring. I don't do it as often on my channel because it does take a little bit longer, but it is my absolute favorite when it comes to coloring because I mean, look at this. I'm adding that yellow green to the tip, and it's bleeding into what I already have on there that's a little bit wet, and then you just get this beautiful melded color. And I feel like that takes a little less effort than alcohol markers sometimes. Now, obviously, I love alcohol markers also, because the other card I'm doing, I am going to color those with alcohol markers, but yeah, this is my first love. That's why I have some of those Daniel Smith colors. I'd love to have them all. I just don't have all the money in the world, so this is what we got. But yeah, and the way watercolor works, if you're unfamiliar with it, is it's best to work in layers. There's several different types of techniques. I don't think I can get into all of them, but there's wet on wet. You could go with dry brush. You can, all kinds of different techniques. My paper is fairly wet here, but I'm kind of letting it dry in between and then adding that color so I can get some of that deeper color. And then I'm going to move on to these little flowers. As you can see, this paper kind of soaks up that color and the water a little bit, which is fine. And I also have to keep in mind that because it's wet, anything that is wet next to it, it might bleed into. So you do have to be aware of that. That might be another reason to kind of either heat set it or move on to pieces that aren't connected to what you're already watercoloring. I did wait for the green to dry mostly before I started bringing in the blue. And I'm just going to keep adding the layers onto that as they're drying. And then you'll start to get deeper color. I'll bring in some darker blues and even some like gray blues just to add different depth to these flowers. And so far, loving how this is coming along. Then for the bigger flowers, I decided to use more pinks for these. I'm not making this one a Christmas one, although you absolutely could. I decided to make this an everyday one. I am in desperate need of more thank yous right now. Always have to thank people, right? And so I am going to make these some thank yous and yeah. So I'm bringing in again, more of that darker color, letting that bleed in to some of the wetness, and then I'll bring in some like purpley type colors, and that'll add to the different textures that are on there. And I'm loving this. This is looking so good. But like with anything, I feel like, especially watercolor, you have to keep going and trust the process because it isn't necessarily always going to turn out right away. You have to just keep working it. And then for our last little flowers, I'm going to make those mostly white. And so there you have it. I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I die cut that out, but I just love how that turned out. And then I'm not going to show you the coloring of the Olo marker or the alcohol marker one that I did, but I do want to show you that here's the gilded expressions. As you can see up on that upper right hand corner, I did use the BetterPress, and then the one I die cut out that you saw, that was the foiled one. So I did foil them and I also die cut them out, but look at this. You have so many amazing sentiments up there that you can work with. So you do it once and you have a bunch of sentiments and you can just keep going. I'm going to do a little bit of splatter on these backgrounds since this is just a plain cardstock. And of course Miles has to come in because I'm working with a wet medium. I think he would probably love to get his paws in that, and he almost did. So now that I've got a little bit of that splatter on the background, I am going to use these, I think they're probably a 16th inch depth. They're not very deep at all. Foam squares, just to pop this up a tiny bit on there. And I'm going to make both the cards basically the same, just using different sentiments on there. I'll glue down the sentiments. So this one's going to be thank you up on that upper, right-hand corner of the flower. I thought that would pop pretty good on the pink flower. And this is the one that was the alcohol markers. And then this is the watercolored one. Sending prayers is another one I always seem to need as well. So I'll glue down those sentiments. And then I definitely want to bring in something to embellish this a little bit more. So I'm bringing in this Sapphire Night Dewdrops. They're absolutely stunning, and they go with the blue. They make that blue, the little blue flowers pop even more. So I'm going to, splatter those around all over using a pickup stick and some liquid glue. And I'm pretty liberal with these. And I even put them on top of the popped up image because they're not that big. They're not going to be that intrusive. But like I said, this is a part of a hop. So head on down to my description box so you can get all the details, all the information of the hop. You definitely want to go check that out and hop along. But check this out. That is the watercolored one. Love how pretty that is. And this is the foiled one. The other one was BetterPress, but check out the shimmer. I'm so happy with how these turned out, and I hope you like them too. If you do, please hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.